what happens if along the line, now we've signed the MCC, but if along the line the U.S. government feels like, notices, or was given the impression that we as a nation, Sierra Leone, is no longer committed to implementing the recommendations in the tripartite?
Yeah, so the MCC eligibility requirements are very clear that there has to be consistent democratic progress within a country for them to remain eligible. In Sierra Leone's case, the tripartite committee recommendations, the Agreement for National Unity, really are the crux of what has allowed MCC over time to see that forward movement. So I don't believe we're going to reach that stage. I'd be very surprised if we reach that stage.
But what if we do?
But if we do,
dealing with politicians, anything's possible.
If we do, the MCC compact includes provisions that allow for the United States government to suspend implementation and assistance if we believe that Sierra Leone has failed to sustain eligibility requirements. So that is a possibility, not one I think we're likely to get to, but as you're right, there are cases where it's had to be invoked. After the coup d'etat in Niger and in Burkina Faso, for example, we had to suspend their MCC compacts because we could not continue to find that they met the eligibility requirements. Now, I hope and I believe that we won't get there in Sierra Leone, but those provisions are always built into the compact.
On record to have said that neither ECSL nor political parties have, of course, records of the results to the elections. But nonetheless, yesterday we saw what happened at the All People's Congress Party, wherein supporters are still averse to the process itself and many other things having to do with the 2023 elections. At this moment, what do you think is the role of political heads in terms of information flow to their supporters?
So I think it's critical. My view has always been that we need to be very transparent with the Sierra Leonean public about what is and what is not contained in the Agreement for National Unity and what is not contained in the Tripartite Committee joint and shared recommendations. So I would say the APC, the SLPP, the smaller political parties, the all political parties organization, the government, the parliament, we all have responsibilities to educate the public about where we are going. And I hope that as part of that, we will all be strong advocates of the committee report. That committee report was something that was drafted and supported by both representatives of both political parties. It was endorsed by the leadership of both parties. It's been endorsed by the cabinet. It had strong international support. So my hope is that we will, in addition to educating the public, also be advocates for moving that forward.
It is very clear that with the MCC, it will usher in a number of jobs, opportunities for Sierra Leoneans.
Yes.
But how will this one develop the country's energy sector, more so in terms of its workforce within the energy sector? How will it help to develop the sector?
So the MCC compact has built into it training for those who are going to be managing both your grid and your power generation sector going forward. So part and parcel of, in addition to the construction, will be training so that the companies, parastatals, that are responsible for overseeing both your network and your generation grid are able to maintain the infrastructure that we're building over time, able to keep it up to the same standard to which it was built. So there will be a number of programs that are put in place to train the workforce that exists, in some cases to bring on new staff where specialized skills are needed that don't currently exist within EDSA or within your grid manager, and make certain that we're not going to see the infrastructure simply deteriorate once MCC departs.
Now, the aspects of governance and transparency is also another concern from not just the public, but even from some members of the opposition. Who will then regulate same?
Yeah, so it's absolutely vital that we make sure that everything in the carrying out of the compact is fully transparent. MCC has procurement rules that will have to be followed throughout the life of the compact. Those procurement rules are sort of the international best practice that's used by the development banks, plus. So we actually go further than the requirements that are used by the World Bank and others in making sure that every procurement that goes out is fully transparent, that all companies have the opportunity to bid on it, that there is a comprehensive evaluation of the technical merits of the proposal as well as the cost. And the intention is always to award the contract to the company that can carry out the work to the highest standard at the most reasonable cost proposal. These will all be public tenders. They will come out through the MCA. They will be made open to Sierra Leonean companies, regional companies, international companies who want to bid on them. And there will be very clear pre-qualification requirements that come out so that companies know whether or not they have the expertise, the financial wherewithal, et cetera, to be able to submit a successful bid.